basically it was just gang intervention and prevention. And then I hooked up, I think it was around 2015, I hooked up with a group called Moms Demand Action and the Brady campaigners calling it at that time. And they formed an organization called San Diego for Gun Violence Prevention. But when I started working with them, their primary focus was on guns, which I was focusing on that too, but I was more so looking at the gang situation. And what I realized is when I started working with them and then I started looking at the gang situation, that most homicides, a gun was used. And so I realized, like, man, if we can really work on reducing gun violence, we can reduce the homicides, in San Diego. So that's where the focus kind of shifted from just dealing with gangs. We deal with gangs, but as it relates to guns, there was a study that was done by, I think Jay College up there in Boston, David Kennedy. And one of the things that when they did their study, they found that what works is when they called it focused deterrence, right? And so I use some of that model of focused deterrence. Focused deterrence centers around working with the community, working with victims, working with perpetrators, but also working with the police, everybody working in their lanes. And they did what they call these call-ins. They identified the individuals who they believe are committing the violence in the community, because only a small percentage of individuals that's committing the violence in the community. They work with law enforcement, probation to identify these guys. They will call them in and they would, give them, warning, like, hey, we know who you are, know what you're doing, and we want the violence to stop, right? If it don't stop, this is the consequence. We're going to lock you up. But on the other hand, we have a lot of resources over here to help you, right? If you do want to get out and so on. So they would have different programs there. They would have moms, dads who lost their loved ones. They have folks who were former gang members or just got out of prison, credible messengers, lived experience. Speak to them to convince them that, hey, we have support and help for you. Change your life. We can help you change your life. So with focused deterrence, they say you focus on a specific crime. And so that's what we do. So when I looked at gangs and I looked at gun violence, based on the Sandex report, and a couple reports came out that said that 100% of gang homicides, the weapon that was used was a gun. And so I said, okay, if we really want to be successful at trying to focus on a certain crime to tackle this gang violence, we have to focus on the specific crime. So our crime was guns and gun violence. And so that's why we more so deal with gun violence, even though we address any violence, whether it's a fight, knives, because all that could lead to gun violence. And we want to kind of deal with any type of gun violence, gang violence, whether it's fighting, knives, other type of weapons, or gun. We address it, but we know that most of the time it's guns that create most of the problems. And so that's where we try to keep our focus.